How's it going, Giants fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo, and today we wanted to give you guys an update on Kadarius Toney's injury designation, not trending in the right direction. What a surprise. Maybe not going to play, but at the same time, we want to take a look at three players who actually are going to play and who could make a big impact this week, especially since the Dallas Cowboys expect to have Michael Gallup back in the lineup. I do believe that he's going to play, and that's obviously a little bit of a issue for the Giants because they also have CeeDee Lamb. So we'll discuss kind of how they will try to limit CeeDee Lamb, who's going to play against him, where he traditionally lines up and whatnot. And some other key takeaways, just some guys that we think that need to really rise to the occasion and offer their best, especially because we have some injuries. See if Leonard Williams plays. He may not even get an opportunity to go after the knee injury last week. So it's day to day, but we'll learn more today after the final injury report. But Anthony, before we dive into the good stuff here, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited for this Monday night game. I think this is a huge one for the New York Giants. Of course, it's their first divisional game. It's their first primetime game of the 2022 season. And as we know, the Giants had a really hot start to their season, 2-0. If they can make that 3-0, it's going to change the narrative completely. If the Giants go ahead and beat the Cowboys on primetime, everyone's going to look at this team a little bit differently. They're not going to say, oh, they got a couple fluke wins in the first 2 weeks. They're going to say this is a 3-0 team that just went up against a solid football team in the Cowboys, took away a win, a divisional win, and they look like they can have a really good season. So it's super important, in my opinion, for the Giants to come out, play on their A game on Monday night, at least compete on the prime time. We can't get blown out on prime time again. I hate when that happens. When the Giants get blown out on prime time, it's so freaking embarrassing. So hopefully they just go out there and at least compete. But I really think there is a solid chance that the Giants win this game. This is a game that they should win, in my opinion. And I'm really hoping they come away with this win because, like I said, it'll change the narrative completely on this team and everyone will be ready to be confident and buy into the New York Giants. But we need some players who are not healthy to get healthy, and we need some players who are in some interesting situations to step up, have some big performances, and lead us to a win on Monday night.
Absolutely. And regarding Kadarius Toney, he's been dealing with that hamstring injury. He was limited on Wednesday, did not practice Thursday, or rather maybe it was the opposite. Maybe he was limited on Thursday, didn't practice Friday, and then today he's also not practicing again. So usually the kind of the consensus I'm getting right now is that Brian Daboll prefers guys who practice the whole week. If you don't practice, you're not going to play. And if you don't play, you're just going to be losing opportunities to other people. And I think right now we're looking at Richie James, Sterling Shepard, David Sills, and maybe even Kenny Golladay getting back into the mix. So, Kadarius Toney's definitely, we want the guy to succeed. We've been really just begging for him to stay healthy and we know what he can do, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. I know hamstring injuries can take a while to recover from. Hopefully, eventually he gets over it, but it seems like every time he gets on the field, he re-aggravates it, and then suddenly you're back to square one. So this is kind of a really disappointing situation where, he's a guy that could really impact this team for the better. And he just can't stay on the field. I mean, it really sucks, but I doubt he'll be available this week. And the Giants, once again, are kind of looking at their reserves to pick up the slack and, say guys like Saquon Barkley to really have big games. And Dallas has a tremendous defensive front. I know Micah Parsons actually, I think, is sick right now. So we'll see what happens there. I doubt an illness is going to keep him out of the lineup and the starting defense on Monday night. But, we'll see what happens there. Obviously, that would be a big situation for the Giants offensive line. But what are your thoughts on Kadarius Toney right now? Missing more time. Like, are you definitely starting to get a little bit worried? Because I definitely feel like we should just start, giving those reps to guys who are consistently going to be on the football field and ultimately impacting this game. I just can't trust him to play 100% of snaps or even let alone 50% of snaps. He just can't get on the field even when he's healthy for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely worried about Kadarius Toney. It's been constant. It's like almost every single week. I saw the stat like a week or two ago where it was 14 out of his 19 career games he was on the injury report. Now it's probably, 15 out of 20, which is just an insane number to think about. He's always injured. Whether he plays or he plays through the injury, whatever it is, he's just always hurt. He can't seem to stay healthy. And Alex, when I first saw this news, I'll tell you, my first reaction was, I know the man, he had his choice words. He posted you on his Instagram. You were completely right, though. You're validated. You literally made a comment about him not being able to stay healthy, and here he is, probably not playing in a game 1 week later. So he was a little salty that people were talking about him being injury prone, and here he is, not playing on Monday night most likely because of an injury. So I don't know. It's really interesting though, because when he is on the field, he's such an extraordinary talent. When the Giants are utilizing him properly, I think he is such a dangerous threat with the ball in his hands. When you give him a screen pass, you give him a drag, he's going to make 5 people miss, and he has the opportunity, or the ability rather, to take it to the house on any given play, and that's very valuable for the New York Giants. However, they're never even experiencing that value because Kadarius Toney is not able to stay on the field. Even when he has a monster 189-yard receiving performance against the Cowboys like he did last year, he got hurt during that game, and he was out the next week, actually out the next several weeks. So that's kind of the problem with Kadarius Toney. Otherworldly talent, so much talent, even running routes. I think he's a great route runner as well. I just think he's a very good wide receiver, especially a threat with the ball in his hands, but he also does get himself open. He makes some nice catches, but he just can't stay on the damn field, and it's screwing his career over. It's screwing the Giants over as well. The Giants need to go next man up. Whether you take a look at it and say that's Kenny Golladay, that's Sterling Shepard, that's Richie James, that's David Sills, the next man just needs to step in there and play. It's very unfortunate. Now the Giants are without Kadarius Toney and likely also without Wan'Dale Robinson, who probably would play that Toney role, but they're both injured, and this is really, really unfortunate. The Giants are having some bad injury luck there. However, I'm really hoping that Kadarius Toney maybe just takes a few weeks off, gets healthy, continues to practice, study the playbook. Maybe he can come back mid-season, I don't know, and just be fully healthy and finish the season off strong. But right now, it's just been a tumultuous first few weeks for him, whether he wasn't playing while healthy or whether he's just not healthy enough to play. Kadarius Toney just can't seem to get his way onto the field permanently no matter what, and it's really unfortunate. He could be, honestly, he was likely going to be my favorite player if he played this year because his last name is Toney. My name is Toney. I just think that's awesome, and I think he's so much fun to watch. However, he just isn't on the field. I never get to watch him. I just want to watch him play football, and I don't get to do that. It's so frustrating, Kadarius Toney. But, hopefully he'll get healthy soon, and he'll make an impact on the Giants offense. But if not, we're just going to need those other guys to step up.
Yep. Yeah, that we definitely will. And yeah, I mean, all of us just want to see the guy healthy. And that's all we want is to see him play football for this team. So it's unfortunate, obviously. But there are 3 players that I do have in mind in terms of making an impact in this game. Specifically, I'm looking at Sterling Shepard. I think could have a really big day. I think with the receivers kind of struggling a little bit in the last couple of weeks and nobody really stepping up. Sterling Shepard kind of is easing his way back after that Achilles tear. So I'm very optimistic he can make an impact here. He's had a remarkable recovery for the most part. He played in 72% of offensive snaps in week 1 and 88% in week 2. He hauled in 6 receptions for 34 yards against the Panthers. So he's slowly getting more involved. I'm not going to say that he's going to be like this insane, like 150-yard performance, but I think you get a touchdown, 75 yards would be good for me. I'd be content with that. And I think that he has the capacity to do so, especially in the slot if, he really features there for the Giants this week. So I do think Sterling Shepard is a guy that could step up. The next guy I had in mind is Dexter Lawrence. If Leonard Williams is out this week, Dexter Lawrence has got to step up and produce in both run defense and as a pass rusher. He's been really, really solid over the first 2 weeks. 6 total pressures, and he has 3 quarterback hits alone last week. He has 4 tackles. He's been pretty solid in both categories. So I'm optimistic he's going to step up. A lot of the coaching staff and his teammates have been like, he's just ridiculous. Like, he's had such a great year. He's doing so many good things on the defensive side. And, losing Leonard Williams is a significant player to lose. So someone's got to step. And I think his teammate there in the trenches is going to be the guy. And then, of course, the third one, Cordell Flott, cornerback out of LSU. He was kind of thrown into the fire last week with Aaron Robinson having appendicitis. Faced off against DJ Moore. He gave up 16 yards and a touchdown on 3 targets. So the touchdown obviously being the big one. If you take that away, he actually had a pretty decent day. He ended up slowing down towards the end when they pulled him from the game because he was cramping up. They put in Fabian Moreau, who looked okay. So, I think Cordell Flott probably gets another start this week. But like I said before, if Michael Gallup's playing, I'm curious to see if they use Adoree Jackson on him or if they used Adoree Jackson just to man mark CeeDee Lamb across the board. CeeDee Lamb really spends a lot of time in the slot, which could indicate that Darnay Holmes is the guy to watch there. And then they'll just keep Adoree Jackson on the boundary against Michael Gallup. So, we'll see how they kind of operate. This should be an interesting situation. Cooper Rush is, I guess Wink Martindale said he's an NFL level quarterback. This is a guy who I would like to see the Giants force him to make, force Cooper Rush to beat you with his arm. Don't let Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott destroy us. Force Cooper Rush to beat us. That's kind of my main thing here. But what are your thoughts on Sterling Shepard, Dexter Lawrence, and Cordell Flott as 3 guys that need to step up in this contest?
I think Sterling Shepard is the Giants' most reliable receiver. I think, he's had his injuries in the past, but when he's on the field, he's consistent and he's dependable. He's always that guy that you throw to on a third down when you need to move the sticks. He's typically been that red zone threat for the Giants as well because he's such a good and crafty route runner, and he's very good at getting his feet in bounds on the corner of the end zone, plays like that. However, the Giants haven't been utilizing him in that fashion, but I'm assuming that, as we continue to ease into the season, it's still the early portion of the season, we're going to start seeing some Sterling Shepard red zone targets. And I think that's really important because, like I said, historically throughout his career, he has been a great red zone threat, but he's such a talented route runner. He's got great hands. He's very dependable on those third down situations. That's what they need to start utilizing Sterling Shepard on, mainly just targeting him on third downs and targeting him in underneath. I know he had that really big, long touchdown reception in week one. That was awesome. But more of what we need to see from Sterling Shepard is just 3rd and 10, you throw it to him on like a 15-yard in route. That's where he really thrives. Or you throw it to him 8 yards. He's 2 yards short of the sticks. He always finds a way to just fall forward and get those 2 yards. That's where Sterling Shepard really makes the money. And he's, again, great hands, doesn't drop the ball very frequently. He is the longest tenured New York Giants player, and he is the veteran of this team. He is the leader of one of the leaders of the offense. So Sterling Shepard, I think, is in line for a really good game. He's also historically been great against divisional opponents, whether that be the Cowboys, the Eagles, or the Washington football team Commanders. He's always been good in divisional matchups. So I think that's a huge thing for Sterling Shepard. Just step up and have a good game on prime time. And then, of course, when you're talking about Dexter Lawrence, I mean, he's been so impressive through the first 2 weeks of the season. This is a breakout that I didn't expect to see because, honestly, I thought in his rookie season and sophomore season, he was a good player, but he kind of started to take a step back, and he was sort of regressing last year. He really just didn't look like the same player. But this year, he's back and better than ever, and it's really exciting. As you mentioned, Leonard Williams likely not playing. I can't imagine that he's going to. I know he's dealing with a very similar injury to the one that Kayvon Thibodeau had, which should mean 3 to 4 weeks he's going to be out. So keeping that in mind, I don't think that Leonard Williams is going to play on Monday night. But if he doesn't, Dexter Lawrence is playing so well. I think that really supplements the loss right there. The Giants' interior defensive line depth isn't the best. So when you've got one guy out of the lineup, you need the next man to really step up because the depth just isn't there. So Dexter Lawrence needs to have a big performance, whether that be from a pass rushing standpoint or, of course, continuing to dominate in the run game. He's just so athletic and so fast for a guy his size. They just need to rely on him to go out there and get after the quarterback, disrupt Cooper Rush from the interior pocket. And that's really how you get an inexperienced quarterback off their game. When the pressure's coming right into their face, that's when they really start to make some mistakes. It gets difficult for them to see downfield, and then they start throwing errant passes towards the sideline, and that's when Xavier McKinney can jump that, take that pick six to the house. And Cordell Flott, the last player you mentioned, is a very interesting player to me because I thought in the preseason he didn't look ready for regular season action. He didn't play in week 1, week 2. He played okay. So now week 3, hopefully he can go out there and continue. But the Dallas Cowboys do have a very talented receiving core. Of course, CeeDee Lamb, as you mentioned, I'm assuming that he's going to be man-marked by Adoree Jackson. I think that is the best route to take here. However, I know last year, I think it was, Darnay Holmes did a pretty decent job on CeeDee Lamb, if I remember correctly. Like he shut him down in one of those matchups, and he played a really solid performance up against CeeDee Lamb. So maybe we can see a repeat of that. That would be great. We know backup quarterback is the one sharing the ball with these receivers, so they're going to have their own challenges and struggles in the receiving core anyway. But Michael Gallup returning to the lineup is huge for them because that's what every Cowboys fan has been saying. They need Michael Gallup to return so CeeDee Lamb can perform. CeeDee Lamb taking all these double teams, especially from the slot, very difficult situation for him. He hasn't been getting the target share that he wants, hasn't been getting open the way that he has in the past, but having another receiver in the lineup will just open things up because Michael Gallup is a deep threat. You have to have a safety over top on him. So it gets really hard to double team CeeDee Lamb when you have to respect the speed of Michael Gallup down the sideline because he kind of is a 9-route guy and he can get over the top of the defense and start making some big plays downfield. And then that opens everything up underneath for CeeDee Lamb. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the Giants scheme this one up. But they do need to make sure that Michael Gallup is held in check, whether that be Cordell Flott or someone else on the roster. But Cordell Flott is going to be playing a significant amount of time on Monday night, and he's likely going to be matched up with Michael Gallup, a big physical wide receiver who loves to go vertical. Cordell Flott needs to be prepared for that. He's a very skinny player, so I'm worried about the strength matchup if he is going to get out-muscled by Michael Gallup. However, I think Cordell Flott has the speed necessary to go with Michael Gallup downfield, so I think that's kind of the X factor there. Like I said, Adoree Jackson probably needs to just take on CeeDee Lamb and try to shut him down. But when Michael Gallup starts running those 9 routes, Cordell Flott needs to be right on his hip and covering those to a T.
Absolutely. But guys, I'd love to hear any other names, any other players you think need to step up in this performance. I mean, I'd go as far as to say Evan Neal probably has to as well. Definitely a guy who is going to have his work cut out for him with DeMarcus Lawrence or Micah Parsons. So he's another one that I say he's got to be on his game. And of course, Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari, who are trending in the right direction, which is great news for the defense in the pass rush. But always happy to hear your opinions and thoughts below. As always, my friends, make sure to like and subscribe. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy a full day of football tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoy it all. And as always, let's go Giants. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode.